WSN, I'm Georgia Fraser.
And I'm Carl Hughes.
Tonight on WSN, we're looking at student finances and if students are better off being paid monthly.
Also tonight, we'll be asking if Wolverhampton is such a bad place to live after the city was criticised twice back in October by both the public and the press.
And finally, we have a special report on possible changes for young drivers that may just transform Britain's roads.
But first, the headlines. A Wolverhampton Wanderers football match is one of those being investigated after allegations of match fixing. The game between Wolves and Oldham resulted in a 2-0 win for Wolverhampton, but 21-year-old Colombian Christian Montano is alleged to have tried to get booked in exchange for cash in the first half of Wolves' League One game.
During a recent visit to Wolverhampton, Education Minister Michael Gove declared that free schools were better value for money than a multi-million-pound school rebuilding programme. The comments are the latest in a long line of statements made by Gove that have angered teachers across the country.
Sunday parking charges and evening fees could be introduced on car parks in Wolverhampton, under plans to rake in money for its cash-strapped council. Pay and display charges could be brought in for on-street parking, while City Council workers who currently park for free could be forced to pay. The proposals are part of plans to save £98 million over the next 5 years.
Criminal Adrian Corns landed himself in court again for stealing mobile phones and then selling them at a pub in the same road as the store. He was told by a judge, "You are not a very good crook."
Now, we took a look at student finances and what students think about the way that their loans are paid. I went into Wolverhampton to find out more.
Thank you. Pints of lager, Jaeger bombs. Many believe that the life of a student is the life of Riley. But there is a darker side, a more difficult side, and that's the world of student finance.
How often should students get paid? That's the question being asked by the NUS as they push for a change to the current system. In 2012, the National Union of Students released a report called Pound in Your Pocket. The intention of the report was to find out exactly how students felt about their financial limitations. What was good about the system, what was bad about the system, and most importantly, what could be changed. One of the most popular suggestions was for student finance to be paid once a month rather than once a term. So popular was this suggestion that the NUS have backed a petition to do exactly that.
That would be amazing, because I'm always running out of my money within a week, so that would be brilliant if they did it like that.
Because I think the majority of people blow their student loans quite quickly at the start of the term and then have no money for the rest of it. So getting paid monthly would space it out quite a lot, really.
I don't think it's good for the students, because if you do get a grand a term and then you're going to be dividing that up say £100 a week or £100 a month, and say you've got your books to pay for as well and they cost you around about £200, you're falling behind on your education because you haven't got that kind of money to pay.
But this isn't simply about protecting students, it's about educating them too. At the moment, students in England and Wales are paid their student loans and grants on a termly basis. No other group in the UK gets their income in this way. This leaves many struggling for food and university essentials by the end of every term. Student Finance England told us that they were unavailable for comment, but Ruth Round, Education Guidance Advisor and Specialist in Student Finance, did speak to us.
I've always thought it made more sense to pay students monthly rather than termly. I mean, everybody is paid monthly. You budget monthly, it just makes a lot more sense, particularly as you have a very long first term and the other terms are shorter. To divide it into thirds makes no sense whatsoever.
By paying student loans once a month rather than once a term, it may encourage students not to drain the bank dry. So how would you like your loan paid?
I don't know, it is a lot being paid by semester, but it's a long way.
I like having the big wad of cash.
Now, is Wolverhampton such a bad city to live in? The city was criticised back in October by the press and the public for being run down, drained and downtrodden. We sent Adam Cartwright into Wolverhampton Town Centre to find out more.
Wolverhampton, you and I may know this as home, or the nearest city at least. The city, which was once one of the main veins into the heart of the Industrial Revolution, has seen some steep historical success stories down the years. The city has helped develop various technologies since its foundation. The Sunbeam Silver Bullet was the first car to house 2 supercharged V12 engines and almost beat the land speed record in the early 1930s. Former British Prime Minister David Lloyd George was also quite fond of the area, calling for a general election at the Mount in Tetnall Wood and delivering an election-changing speech in the Grand Theatre in 1918. The city also used to be home to Goodyear tyres, which produced the majority of F1 tyres for almost a decade. It is also proud home to Wolverhampton Wanderers, the 9th most successful team in British domestic football. In October 2013, The Economist listed Wolverhampton as one of the urban ghosts on the Rust Belt of Britain, being up there with the likes of Hull, Burnley and Hartlepool. They say the city is slow when it comes to keeping up with the growth of the local area. In the same week in October, Wolverhampton was publicly slammed again, but this time being the back end of a joke in Birmingham-based sitcom Citizen Khan.
I want to try and help the underprivileged, the weak, the downtrodden, those who have lost all hope.
In that case, you want Wolverhampton.
This hasn't been the first time Wolverhampton's economy has been criticised. In 2009, Lonely Planet, a travel guide and rating website, judged Wolves to be the 5th worst place in the world. That's among such places as Colombia, Cuba and the favelas of Brazil. A few days after these remarks were made, the mayor released his own video onto YouTube, describing the great places and historical attributes that make Wolverhampton.
Multinational companies are investing in Wolverhampton. They have the confidence and they see Wolverhampton having a bright future.
We went out to ask the people of Wolverhampton whether they agree with the views of The Economist and Citizen Khan.
You walk around Wolverhampton, there's literally nothing to do. It's literally everywhere you look is closed.
There's nothing to do here, really. There's no entertainment activities, really.
I think they need to put a little bit more effort into cleaning up the area, around just past the city border, because let's face it, that's where they focus most of their attention.
We got to interview MP Paul Uppal to see what his thoughts were on The Economist's review.
In response to this report that's in The Economist, I actually think it's just part, again, of something which I'm really disappointed with. The London media having quite a negative image of areas outside of the southeast, and actually say, you know what, we're open for business. We've got people here in the city who are happy to work, happy to sort of stand up to the challenge of the 21st century. We need to talk much more about that rather than have people running the city down.
So there you have it. With the voice of the public finally heard, maybe it's time for Wolverhampton to shape up or ship out. This has been Adam Cartwright reporting from Wolverhampton's Queen Square.
Do you think Wolverhampton's such a bad place to live in?
No, I actually quite like it.
Yeah, it's alright.
I've lived in far worse places.
Yeah.
Now, young drivers could have to wait until they are 18 before they take their test. Radical rules being considered by ministers include banning teenage drivers from carrying friends in their vehicle.
I went out to see how young drivers really behave in their vehicles and how this could change their everyday lives. After a report commissioned by the Department for Transport, teens shouldn't be allowed to take their driving test until they are at least 18 and would have to complete 100 hours of lessons in daylight and 20 hours in the dark before taking a test. The plans could also see all motorists under 30 banned from giving their friends a lift or driving at night for at least a year after passing their test.
Yeah, to be fair, it was pretty daunting, especially when you're sort of out in the car on your own for the first time. So I guess it would be better to sort of, be a bit older, be a bit more comfortable. But saying that, I've never had any problems.
Most people who are driving are students, and obviously they're going to have to catch transport to here if they don't have a car for their age.
I think that the driving age should not go up because as I started driving when I was 17, it helps you adapt to it better because obviously when you're younger your mind's like a sponge.
Driving instructor Ian Tipton is experienced at driving with young people and tells us the effects these restrictions will have on young drivers.
18 would be a good age, but there are some really good 17-year-old drivers out there who would be then ashamed because they're then penalised by the idiots who are driving around like they're on that Grand Theft Auto type thing, which is another thing that doesn't help. They can see them do it on these games, they can do it in real life. Definitely with mates in the back, go on, go a bit faster, turn that music up, and it does make a big difference, yeah.
The main focus is to improve training and education for novice drivers. So the Department for Transport briefly sketches out why it is young drivers in particular need this training. They give 3 statistics to do this. Young and novice drivers are overrepresented in road collisions in Great Britain and worldwide. 22% of fatalities on Great Britain's roads in 2011 occurred in collisions involving a driver aged 17 to 24 years old. In 65% of these collisions, the fatal injuries were sustained by passengers or road users other than the young driver. But recent data from the Department for Transport, released in 2013, suggests that the age of drivers involved in accidents are over 70 than 17 to 19 years old. I'm Georgia Fraser, reporting for WSN.
So, was that you driving in the car there?
Yeah, I'm a good driver. I am. Now, here's a recap of today's stories.
Wolverhampton has been criticised for being run down, drained and downtrodden.
Student finances are set to change.
And the UK driving age set to rise to 18.
That brings us up to date with the news this evening.
We'll be back for WSN at 10 o'clock. From the team, have a good evening.